All right, all right, all right. You are looking live. It's sold out, man. Here today, the 16-0 and playoff bound New York Giants are taking on the 0-16 Detroit Lions. And why are the Detroit Lions 0-16? Because they suck. Ain't won nothing since 1957. That's a long freaking time, man. Detroit Lions, you suck. Welcome to the Gridiron. Anybody out there at all that's going to spend a little bit of time with me here this evening, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Or if anybody's going to spend time watching the replays, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. I'm going to try to go about 30 minutes here tonight, shoot my mouth off for about 30 minutes. Anybody got anything to say, please feel free, fire away. Throw in the chat box. Usually try to check on, what's up, G-Man? What's going on, buddy? Usually try to check on, like right now, check on the chat box like every 5 or 10 minutes. As soon as I see something in there, I try to respond to it as fast as I can. So please feel free, fire away. But, plus all that means you're rambling on for half an hour, 45 minutes, or whatever it might wind up being. It's just nice to talk to another Giant fan. So please feel free, fire away. Before I get started, if anybody wants to help support my channel out, it would mean the absolute world to me. In the description box below, the very top link in the description box takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. The first one's called the Saquon, unfortunately. Second one's called the Lawrence Taylor. And the third membership level I got is called the Gridiron. Each one's got their own little perks to them. So if you want to help support my channel, it would mean so much to me. And I thank you in advance. Thank you. If you are subscribed to my channel, once again, thank you. I can use all the support I can get, guys. But if not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That way next time I go live or if I put a video out, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge. What do you got to lose, right? But if you are subscribed to my channel, thank you. Maybe give this video a thumbs up or share this video. That would be freaking awesome. And then finally, also, just a little ways down in the description box, there's 2 additional links. The top one, it's a Facebook link, which I'll go over in just a second. The one underneath it, I'm an old-time fart, right? I ain't got no hair, right? I'm an old-timer, right? I can't stand change, like stuff just kind of the way it is. I don't like people messing with stuff. It's a Twitter link, right? It's always been Twitter, whatever letter of the alphabet Elon Musk wants me to call it. I ain't calling it that, bro. That's on you. I'm calling it Twitter because it's Twitter. You follow me on Twitter, I'll follow you back. That's an absolute promise. I try to put Giants-related stuff in a Twitter account every day. Right? And finally, said the link just on top of it takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron, basically because I'm too stupid to think of any different names. So basically, I called it pretty much the same thing as I call my YouTube channel. Right? It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. We have over 8,300 members in the group. It's doing simply marvelous, might I add. Basically, if I'm alive and breathing, and if I got internet access, I'm putting stuff in this group darn near 365. And not only am I putting stuff in this group, but the members post stuff in this group as well, too. So between me and the members, there's a ton of New York Giants information going in this group every day. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You won't be dissatisfied. I promise. But all that stuff said and done that away with. Well, I was a little late. I was watching, I try to, if I can sometimes watch like on YouTube, like some of the old time Giant games, right? So I was watching the first Giant Super Bowl victory, Super Bowl 21. And I was watching it, and it was just where Rich Carlis, I think it was like I said, it was like a 24-yard field goal. The one he missed, the Broncos got down there. They were winning. What the hell were they winning? 10-7. 10-7. They were winning. Yeah, 10-7. And they drove down the field, and they get down, and the Giants had a great goal line stand. The Giants had a good run defense. The Broncos that game, they couldn't run the ball. So, I don't know. They ran one wide, one way toward Lawrence Taylor, another one, or Lawrence Taylor, I think, ran Elway out of bounds, and they've tried to run one up the middle, and that got stoned. And then they tried to run to the opposite side, and Banks ran all the way across the field. Banks is a freaking maniac in that game. But so Banks got that. They tried 3 runs. They're walking up and down the field with Elway passing the ball. So then they get down inside in the goal to go. And it's like they run the ball 3 times. And then Carlos comes in and misses a 24-yard field goal. And that pretty much changed, that changed the outlook there. Because after that, Denver wasn't walking up and down the field much, after that, and of course, the Giants got the safety to make it 10-9 just at halftime. And then, of course, the Giants came out and then when it was 10-9. And then before you knew it, it was 39-13, and then the Broncos scored, I think, with like about 2 minutes to go or so in the game. But so I just watched a little bit of that and always get you all pumped up for the upcoming season. But the Giants, now they're looking like, with this formula, I don't even know if anybody even knows exactly what the formula is, for these comp picks. But basically kind of, what it is how many free agents do you lose? And then so a lot of it's like, what kind of contracts do they sign? How many free agents you bring in? How many, contract, what size of the contracts do you sign and all of that? It's got a little bit more to do with that, as we'll see here. But as of right now, Banks should. Oh yeah, it's a shame he don't get much, because it's always like Lawrence Taylor or Harry Carson or this, that. But I tell you what, Banks was, man. He's. I don't know if he, unfortunately, I don't know if he ever will get in there because it's been a long time. But if you ever listened to the 86, I guess it was the divisional round game. That's when the Giants beat the 49ers 49-3. Multiple times in that game. You think about, that game right there. You got Harry Carson, Hall of Fame. You got Lawrence Taylor, Hall of Famer. But on the 49ers, Jerry Rice was on the field. Ronnie Lott was on the field. Roger Craig, some guy by the name of Joe Montana was on there. So they got a lot of good guys on that field. And multiple times in that game, John Madden said Carl Banks was the best player on the field. He said multiple times during that game. They couldn't run at him. They couldn't run at him. They couldn't run around him, couldn't get by him. So when John Madden says something like that, that's pretty impressive. That guy could set an edge. Let me tell you what, he could set an edge. He was, unfortunately, because a lot of it, he wasn't asked to maybe blitz as much. Right, because if they had the Giants had maybe Martin and Marshall and then Burt, or when Burt went to the 49ers, they had Howard. Right, so they had 3 guys, and then of course you had Lawrence Taylor. When you got Lawrence Taylor, you want to send a guy. So Carl Banks was in coverage a lot of times. He wasn't asked to blitz the quarterback and all. So a lot of times he was just doing what was asked of him. But so a lot of his stuff wasn't glorious or nothing but the man could set an edge. Let me tell you what, good luck trying to run at that guy. He was, he was really, really good. To me, he's a Hall of Famer, but it is what it is. I don't know if he'll. Because we're going 40 years ago. Actually, we retired about 30 years ago because he played with the Redskins in the 90s. Oof. That hurt. Maybe one of these years he'll get in. Who knows? But I don't know if he has enough all pros or Pro Bowls, and he's got a couple Super Bowl rings and he played really, really well and all that. But I don't know if he has enough enough accolades, to get him in. But to me, he's a Hall of Famer. I'd put him in there without question, but he was really, really good. Well, the Giants, with their comp picks here, now there's a little caveat here. Now they're projected, right, as of right now, to get possibly a 4th round compensatory pick next season. But, right, Giants are fully focused on the 2024 season, obviously. Who is this here? This is sportingnews.com. Ooh. but there's a strong chance they receive a compensatory selection in the 2025 NFL Draft. In the latest projections from Over the Cap, the Giants are slated to receive a fourth-round comp pick in the 2025 draft because of the loss of safety Xavier McKinney, who signed with Green Bay this offseason. Very, very good. However, there's a slight condition, though. Former Giants guard Ben Bredeson signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this offseason and could impact where the pick falls. And they got here, it says the Giants have a fourth rounder on the board for Xavier McKinney, leaving for Green Bay. But that is contingent on Ben Bredeson qualifying as a CFA. Let's see. This could be complicated by the Bucs also drafting Graham Barton in the first round. Should Barton displace Bredeson as a possible starter at guard, instead of him displacing Robert Hainsey at center, the Giants and their fans, should be rooting for Bredeson to win the starting job and to keep the job, right? If Bredeson's contract does not qualify, the fourth rounder gets demoted to a net value possibly of a seventh rounder, placed at the very bottom of the list. So basically, I mean, they're going to get a compensatory pick. It just seems like it as of right now. Anyway, it seems like, they're almost locked in for a comp pick. But you kind of hoping, you get on down on your knees here and, I hope Ben Bredeson wins the job and keeps the job and plays a bunch of snaps that keeping possibly the Giants locked in at a fourth round pick. So the Giants would have 2 fourth-round picks. They can also, right when they get to the second round or the third round or something like that, or they can take their 2 fourth-round picks and move up or something like that, right? But apparently, according to this article here, if Bredeson were to lose his starting job, if Graham Barton were to come in and displace Bredeson kind of like early on or whatever, quite possibly Bredeson may not have enough snaps or whatever in his contract, I guess, or his playing time would obviously hurt the Giants' comp pick, and possibly it might go from a fourth rounder, might fall all the way down to a seventh round comp pick. And it's like, because you get a seventh round, because all the comp picks are right at the end of the round. So it's like, you get a comp, you might get Mr. Irrelevant then, I guess. I mean, whoopie-doo. Because you got Mr. Irrelevant, and then right after that, you have undrafted free agents. So, I mean, it's like, you have the 3,000 undrafted free agents available to you. So it's like, a comp pick in the seventh round is really not, golden. A fourth rounder wouldn't be bad. The Giants probably obviously would have, quite possibly, either more comp or maybe a third, but we did sign a lot. We brought in how many, now the Burns is a big one, but that, contract wise, but that was a trade. So we didn't lose, so it's not like we picked up a free agent or anything like that, right? Because if Burns was a free agent, right, and we brought him in, and the contract that we saw $150 million, that would probably wipe out any chance of us getting a comp pick next year. And that was a trade. But we lost a bunch of guys. They were just talking about Ben Bredeson. There's a ton of guys we lost. But we also signed a bunch of guys. I mean, how many free agent offensive linemen did we bring in? We brought in a lot. Brought in a couple, some guys back in the secondary, but we had a couple tight ends, obviously Singletary, a bunch of guys, we brought in. So if the big one is, it would be Xavier McKinney, because of also the value, the price. As we brought in a bunch of lower price guys, we lost some lower price guys and all that. But, I think the big one is that we lost Xavier McKinney. and he was getting about $17 million a season. So let's hope, keep your fingers crossed, that Ben Bredeson does good in his new home, okay, and gets a whole bunch of snaps, right? Because then that'll keep us maybe in the 4th round category. So that would be good. Because once you get to the 7th round, I mean, it's like, I don't want to say it's a crapshoot, but I mean, you especially get toward the end of the 7th round, it's like, whoopie-doo. And I'm going to move the chair for my buddy Randy. Hold on, buddy. Give me a second. Hold on. Okay, there we go. All right, Randy's here. We can continue. But the 7th round, I mean, to trade them, basically almost worthless. If you ever look at the draft chart, like a 7th round select, it might be worth like 1 point, 2 points or something. It's like totally almost worthless. A 4th rounder, not bad. As I said, you could couple up, you could, take one of those 4th round picks that you got and couple it up with a 3rd rounder and move up even farther in the draft and pick somebody that you like. So we'll have to wait and see. Keep your fingers crossed that Ben Bredeson plays a lot of snaps, because a 4th round comp pick would be pretty cool. All right, then I got here this Yard Barker. I got 3 off-season moves the Giants must make. Now, this one kind of starts off with, the first one they got here is trade Darius Slayton. Now, it's going to be interesting, one of those things, to see how this pans out. Because I've talked about it before. I can certainly understand where he's coming from, right? 4 out of his 5 years, he's had over 700 yards receiving. Rather porous offensive line play. We don't got Patrick Mahomes back there throwing the football, right? 4 out of 5 years, over 700 yards on a not a very good offense. I talked about this last night, and he had over 700 yards receiving last year. DeVonta Smith, who's on a much better offense, better offensive line, all that stuff, and had like not even 300 yards more last season than Slayton did. And DeVonta Smith's making like $25 million. Darius Slayton's making $6 million. DeVonta Smith's making 4 times the amount that Darius Slayton's making for like an extra. I was just comparing last season, right? So it's I can certainly see where Slayton's coming from. However, I can also see, if Shane wants to play a little bit of hardball, because it's like, Shane's like, well, I drafted Wan'Dale Robinson, so I'm probably going to want him on the field. Drafted Jalen Hyatt, probably going to want him on the field. And we drafted some guy, Malik Neighbors. I might want him on the field every now and then too, right? And they drafted Bellinger. They got Theo Johnson. We're not sure what Waller's going to plan on doing, but that doesn't mean that Slayton wouldn't be on the field at all. I mean, if somebody gets hurt, I'm sure Slayton will step right in there and Slayton will, get his snaps in. But if guys are healthy, I'm sure he's probably going to want Hyatt on the field maybe more than Slayton. So it's kind of like, well, if I pay Slayton, just say pay him makes maybe $10 million a season, make him happy, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, what's the percentage of snaps he's going to be playing? And I just paid him. Now he's getting paid $10 million a year, and he's only playing like a third of the snaps or something. It's like that's not the bang for your buck. That's not where you want to be going. What do we do if we trade Slayton and one of the receivers? Well, that's what I'm saying. So if he gets hurt, he'll slide right in there. We are screwed. Jerry Judy makes it. I know. Yeah, it's unbelievable, ain't it? Well, we got Hodgins. It's some of the stuff is just weird, because when Hodgins came in, right, the second half of the 2022 season really did good. And like last year, it was kind of like, was he on the team at all? What's going on? Where is he? It's amazing. One year these guys do good, and then the next year it's kind of like, where they are? Are they on the team anymore? The thing is that, that's something Shane's got to weigh out. Do I want to pay, I said, Slayton $10 million a year and have him be, you know, if somebody goes down, okay, then we got him. He's coming, right? He's got to weigh that stuff out. We got a lot of wide receivers. I said, if you look at, I counted them off. I mean, some of the guys I really hardly even heard of, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how far this drags out or whatever, But I said I can see both sides of the ball, absolutely. And they got Slayton signed a 2-year, $12.2 million contract before last season and finished the year with a career best 770 yards, ranking him 46th amongst NFL receivers. He skipped the team's recent OTAs in hoping of getting a new deal, but really should be asking for a trade. Yep. With neighbors in the fold, Slayton will never be the team's number one receiver and needs to give way to younger players like Jalen Hyatt and Wan'Dale Robinson. Slayton carries an $8 million cap hit, but a trade would save the Giants $6.4 next season. Ooh, that would be good. Now is not the time to make a contract demands unless he demands to play for another team. So, I mean, if they do plan on trading, if Shane wants to be a nice guy and just go up to him, all right, instead of let's see, Washington, Philadelphia, Dallas, is there another team you want to get traded to? He's put up some fairly decent numbers, with a crappy offense. Then they got here, cut Darren Waller by trading a 3rd-round pick for Waller in 2023. Yeah, cut him, or he might retire. So who knows? New York hoped they could regain the 2020 Pro Bowl form that saw him have 107 catches for 1,196 yards and 9 touchdowns. Yeah, that season he was special. Instead, he gave them 12 games, 52 catches, 552 yards, and 1 touchdown from Tyrod Taylor, I believe it was. With Waller contemplating retirement, New York selected Penn State's Theo Johnson in the 4th round. Johnson had 7 touchdowns for the Lions last year and in 34 catches, 7 touchdowns. Basically every 5 times he caught the ball, one of them was for a touchdown last year. He should be a very, very popular red zone target this year for the Giants. Obviously, Theo's 6'6", 259 pounds. He could easily mix in with free agent signees like Chris Manhertz and Jack Stahl. But those guys are like blockers they got here. And the team could save $11.7 million against the cap by releasing Waller in June. So if they were to trade trade Slayton and release Waller, or if he retires, Giants will save themselves a nice amount of money. And with the nice amount of money they save, this is according to this Yard Barker. With the money they possibly save, they have number 3 here. 3 things, the offseason moves for the Giants would be sign cornerback Steve Nelson. So with Waller off the books, New York could afford to add a veteran cornerback to play opposite Deonte Banks. Many see 3rd-round pick Drew Phillips as more of a slot corner. And even at 31 years old, Nelson is a better option than Cordell Flott or Trey Hawkins III. Nelson had 48 solo tackles, 12 passes defense, and 4 interceptions for the Texans last season. With 9 years of experience, 8 as a starter on 4 different teams, there isn't much Nelson hasn't seen, which could be an asset for new defensive coordinator Shane Bowen. Now there are some cornerbacks out there. Yeah, there are some cornerbacks out there. Quite a few of them are like a little maybe on the older side. Adoree Jackson's out there as well too. Adoree Jackson came from Tennessee. Shane Bowen came from Tennessee. I don't know if there's any love there or what. I don't know. But there are some cornerbacks out there. The Giants don't have a ton of money right now, unless they maybe move some money, redo like Andrew Thomas's contract, maybe a Bobby Okereke's contract, do something with that would free him up some money as of right now. as we're waiting on as Darren Waller turns. It's a new soap opera. As Darren Waller turns, waiting on Darren Waller to hear what he's going to wind up doing. Is he going to retire or not? But Shane, I'm sure he learned a heck of a lot, right? Because you'll notice a lot of these guys he drafted, a lot of these guys he's bringing in as free agents. They're smart, tough, but then there's the last one, dependable. Because if Waller retires, we just gave up a third-round pick for 12 games. That's a tough one. So what Shane's trying to do is you'll notice a lot of these guys were drafting, have played a lot. Maybe they've had some. I know Newman was injured a little bit. He played through some of the pain. Neighbors had a problem with the shoulder, I think it was last season. He played through that, right? So these guys, even when they are maybe a little dinged up, they're playing or they just don't miss any time at all. I mean, I say, Murasau. I mean, the guy's played a ton of games, 440 tackles. He led the last 4 seasons he was on with Hawaii and UCLA, led him in tackles and also, so you'll notice that, a lot of the guys that Shane's bringing in, that certainly doesn't mean they're not going to get injured, but they don't have big, extensive injury histories like with Waller. I mean, at the time, bringing Waller in seemed pretty cool, but not with his hamstring problem. Because even if he does play, you can almost guarantee he's going to miss some games this year. I mean, we kind of seemed like we were bubble wrapping him last year. And all, I think it was week 1. He just came up, he played, but I mean, all of a sudden he came up, he was like on the injury report. What? A hamstring. It's like, so you can chalk it up. If he plays this year, he's missing time. He's going to miss time. So I'll have to wait and see. Then I like this signing. This is a good one. This is really, really good. They bring him back. Good old Chris Snee. Now there's a bunch of articles here. This one's from Giants Country, and this one's from the New York Post. But this is good. I like this one here. Bringing back Chris Snee, a former Giants offensive lineman who played a role in the franchise's last 2 Super Bowl champions, has been hired as a scout. Snee is the second-round draft pick in the 2004. Obviously, remember in 2004 we got Eli Manning, and then we drafted Chris Snee. He started all 141 games in which he played for New York at right guard. In addition, the 2-time Super Bowl champion, Snee was named a first-team All-Pro in 2008, a second-team All-Pro in 2009 and in 10, and was voted to 4 Pro Bowls. 2008, 9, 10, and 2012. So, let's see, inducted into the Ring of Honor in 2015. Snee was a team captain for the Giants who, during his tenure, was coached by Tom Coughlin, his father-in-law. The offensive lineman retired after the 2013 season with injuries finally caught up to him, limiting his once dominant skill set. Yeah, a lot of the guys, Seibert, he got injured, injuries were catching up with him, Hara, after a while, it's just, Snee, just, unfortunately, injuries. But it says the 42-year-old Snee, most recently an analyst at Boston College, in his new role with the Giants, Snee's responsibility will undoubtedly include scouting offensive linemen. So, that could be big. Because one thing the Giants have had problems with is, obviously, we drafted offensive linemen. My goodness, we drafted offensive linemen. Just, they're not all hitting. You draft, now I get it. I get it with Evan Neal. He's had some injuries, and, you look at Andrew Thomas, took him a little while to get good, but once he flourished, he's the man. Right. And of course, last season with his hamstring kind of derailed the season last season. But, we've taken some guys, it's just, and some of them, it's kind of like you don't know, is it just the organization being morons or what? Because when we had Hernandez here, we drafted him in the second round, right? We drafted Saquon. And then there was pick 34, we got Hernandez. right? So you figure Hernandez is going to be here, a guard for a while here. So no, Hernandez here was 4 years, and we just let him go. And he did pretty good, elsewhere. Of course, Eric Flowers, right? When somebody finally got the idea to, hey, you know what? He sucks as a tackle. You know what? The guy's 17 foot tall, 480 pounds. Let's try him as a guard. What the heck? Let's see what I'm not saying he was an all-pro, but he wasn't too bad as a guard. Did the Giants try that? Instead of letting the pick number 9 of the 2015 just walk out the door? The Giants. We got lineman in the free agency. Well, yeah. Man. Oh, yeah. Oh, we brought in a lot. We brought in a lot. That's for sure. The one nice thing is like with E, because he said that you want to accentuate or enunciate or whatever, the E Luminor, right? That's what Jermaine says. But he was with Priscilla, so that was good. So now, Priscilla, Luminor, E Luminor. Seemed like he wanted to be a Giant. He's here with the Giants. He's freaking pumped up to be a Giant, but also, he's followed his coach here too. And last season with the Raiders, he did pretty good. So I got to be pretty pumped up about that. Now, if Priscilla can elevate, these guys at all, because we spent, Zudu, a 3rd round pick, John Michael Schmitz, a 2nd round pick, Evan Neal, a 1st round pick, Andrew Thomas, a 1st round pick. So, we spent some high draft capital on offensive linemen over the past, 4 or 5 years or whatever it's been. So we didn't draft any this year because we brought in a bunch of free agents, but a lot of that's the one nice thing about the free agent. Unfortunately, it costs you some money, but you see their body of work. It's like, take Evan Neal, right? Oh no, he's pretty good at Alabama. He should do pretty good in the pros. I think, right? See the tape that's not bad. Translates to the pros might be okay. Sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. But at least these guys that we're bringing in, like Runyon Jr., E. Luminor, and Snee and all of that. You can see what they do, right? So, plus also, I'm sure we brought in a couple undrafted free agents, and I'm sure Priscilla is going to have his hands on all these guys. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if we have a nice little turnaround from what we did last season, because coaching's a lot. Coaching's a lot. I can never remember the guy's name. Yeah, he's just like a sequoia. The guy's huge. He's probably 3. Well, that's the thing. It's like, you see him moving back as he's moving back to try to block the guys, like running around them. It's like, dude, what are you doing? So that might be the problem. That might be one of the problems. Evan, if you want to be an offensive tackle, you might want to lose 20 pounds. You don't lose 20 pounds for sliding you into guard. If you want to be 360 or whatever it is, well, we're going to keep you a guard because you can't move. Right? So we'll have to wait and see. Because, he just really seems like he's struggling. With those the edge rushers, but you put him inside, he's more like in a phone booth, right? And I think it was his first season when he was in Alabama. I think he was a left guard. I think it was. He didn't do too bad. Actually, I think his numbers were better when he was a tackle, but that was like his last season at Alabama. His number, according to PFF, okay. His numbers were better his last season when he was like a tackle. But his first season, when he had him in there as a guard, he played a lot, and he had some very good grades. So, he can do it, so We'll have to wait and see. But I said we spent some draft capital on some offensive linemen. That is for sure. For sure. As I said, I mean, I think Priscilla, I think last year the Raiders had, I think, a first-round pick on their offensive line. It was a third-round pick, a fifth-round pick, and I think like 2 undrafted free agents. And their offensive line performed a lot better than ours did. A lot better. So and I said, I can never remember the guy's name. I think his first name is Jeff, my name, right? And I can't. His last name starts with an S. He's the coach of the Eagles, their offensive line coach. The guy is freaking awesome, absolutely freaking awesome. I mean, if the Giants had somebody like him, we probably wouldn't be having any offensive line problems. Hold on, I want to give the guy some props. The guy's really freaking good. Let's see, Eagles offensive line coach, Jeff Stoutland. He's been there a while. Let's see, Philadelphia. Yeah, that's his name. And I go Jeff, and I always starts with an S. So he's what? He's for February. So he's 62. So hopefully, for us Giant fans, maybe he'll retire. But he's really good. I mean, look at that Eagles offensive line. I can't remember the guy. They got their right tackle. They got him. He was like a rugby player. He's like 37 feet tall. I mean, I can't remember the guy's name. I'm horrible with a lot of the names from other teams, especially the Eagles, because I can't stand them. But he was like a rugby player, and he's like one of the best tackles in football now, right? Of course, they got Lane Johnson, and then you got Kelsey, the center. I mean, who retired, thankfully, But the Eagles, good offensive line. They're just churning out a good offensive lineman after good offensive lineman. The coaching has got a lot to do with it. Let me tell you what. All right, then. So I said I'm really happy about that. About Chris Snee coming back, especially if he'll keep his eyes out for maybe drafting offensive linemen. That'd really be good. Really, really be good. Then I saw this, and this is, once again, I said it's pretty much put out there for clicks, and I'm clicking on it, right? So of course, one of these stupid things. Rumor. This is from Cowboys country, so I'm reading Cowboy news here. Dak leaving Cowboys for the NFC East rival, and they got a question mark after that. So I'm like, who the heck would that be? Well, let's see. What NFC East rival would Dak Prescott leave for? Well, wouldn't be for the Eagles because they got Jalen Hurts and they're very happy with him at the moment. The Commanders just drafted somebody with the number 2 overall pick, so he wouldn't be going there. So let's see. Dak Prescott would be leaving for the Giants. Ooh. It says in this article here, Tony Dorsett, the Cowboys Hall of Fame runner, left for the Broncos. Emmitt Smith left for the Cardinals. Ezekiel Elliott left for the Patriots, and now he's back. Next in line for uncomfortable departures of the Dallas Cowboys heroes to unseemly rivals, Dak Prescott to the Big Apple. Ooh. I don't know how that would go over. New York Giants and quarterback are prepared to go this season with disappointing former first-round pick Daniel Jones or career backup Drew Lock. But in 2025, I got a question mark after that. With the Cowboys having tabled negotiations on a contract extension for Prescott, he is set to become a free agent after the 2024 season. Ooh. Let the speculation begin. One rumor floated by a longtime Cowboys analyst for Fox Sports is that Prescott could wind up with the Giants, explains writer David Hellman. The Giants are a logical landing spot, but also a fun storyline. Prescott's no-tag clause means he can do as he pleases if he hits the open market, including signing with a division rival that's desperate for good quarterback play. While Prescott has certainly endured his share of playoff pitfalls, right? He has feasted on the NFC East in general and the Giants in specific. New York hasn't beaten Dak since his rookie season in 2016 and is 2-12. The Giants are 2-12 against him all time. Yeah, we can't beat Dak Prescott. Can't beat the Cowboys, though, either. So part of Prescott's plan, as it were, would be to dump Jones, which in 2025 would save the Giants $19 million in salary cap room. But even on the open market, would Dak be tempted to join the Giants? Ooh. And here it says, fortunately for Prescott, the situation in North Jersey might look a heck of a lot better in 2025 than it has in recent years. The Giants spent this spring adding reinforcements to their offensive line and the number of 6 overall pick, Malik Neighbors. Now, it's not Malik could wind up being better than ABCD Lamb. Right? And obviously, if Prescott was to come here, which sure ain't going to happen, but they would have Neighbors, a true number 1 wide receiver. If the Giants signing Prescott and would solve the quarterback issue in March would allow General Manager Joe Schoen to focus on drafting even more weapons next April. Let's see, we got here. For another year at least, Dak will continue to beat the Giants, but a year from now, might he instead join them? Ooh, interesting. But you always see all this kind of stuff. Yeah. Right, it's going to be. That's another one of those interesting storylines. You have to wait and see as time goes by. Like I'm saying, like I'm talking about Dak, but I'm saying like with Daniel Jones, right? Because I mean, if Drew Lock were to come out and start playing and look decent, that would certainly make Daniel Jones expendable. That's for sure. Then the interesting thing was if Drew Lock, right, comes on and starts playing. Just saying if. Right, and we only got him for 1 year. If we're going to bring Drew Lock back, what's he going to want? So Giants got a little conundrum on their hands here, but one thing at a time. Could you imagine Jerry Jones and Cowboys fans? Nah. I said, I mean, I'll tell you what, boy, if we brought him in here, man, I'll tell you what, that would. Man, that would rub a lot of Giant fans the wrong way. Let me tell you what. So I don't even know if he'd even. I don't know. I mean, who knows? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sorry, buddy. I woke him up. Sorry, pal. I mean, I guess if the money's right, they might want to come. I mean, look at Saquon. The money was good, and he went to Philadelphia, right? So, but I'll tell you what, that if we did sign Dak Prescott, that would rub a lot of Giant fans pretty much the wrong way. So, but one season at a time. So, one season at a time. I mean, because I don't know if the Cow, because he wants. I mean, I hear like around $60 million a season, $55 or $60 million a season. I mean, man, it's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. I mean, that's almost like a quarter of your salary cap for the quarterback. That's a lot of money. All right. Then I seen this one here. This is from, what is this here? Big Blue View. It says, in particular, how do bad NFL teams become good teams? Well, it says mainly by trading players for picks. Plus, you get some luck. It says here. Considering that the Giants are one season removed from a divisional round playoff appearance, that's a pretty brutal assessment of the current state of the team in the minds of the media and many NFL fans, rather than the 2023 being a quirk caused by an unfathomable number of injuries and a really difficult schedule, and 2022 being a true indicator of the capabilities of the new regime. 2022 is now seen as a quirk produced by an easy schedule, with the 2023 team showing us the true Giants. Wow. The amount of injuries we had was unbelievable. For 2024, it's meet the new Giants, same as the old Giants. We won't get fooled again. Time will tell. The question, though, is how do you build a good team from a terrible one? You have to have the right ownership and management in place. It says, let's see, who's writing this here? This is Anthony Del Genio. Okay. I write after watching the Knicks close out the Sixers in a thrilling NBA playoff series. The Knicks have been feudal for most of the 21st century, with an owner who, among other issues, was unable to put the right people in the front office or keep them when he did. Finally, under Leon Rose and William Wesley, it's happened. The key, obviously, was signing Jalen Brunson as a free agent. But Brunson has been better as a Knick than he'd been in any previous season. Adding key supporting pieces like Josh Hart, making an amazing midseason trade to bring in OG and Anunoby, and Precious. I don't even know what the last name. Suddenly, the Knicks look like a legitimate contender. If you saw that coming when Rose and Wesley were hired, you're better than me. Football is harder than basketball. Oh yeah, I mean, man, you only got to put 5 guys on the court. If you somehow were lucky enough to get like a Michael Jordan, you're an automatic playoff contender. Just one guy. You can't in the pros. You can't draft one guy and you're a playoff contender. Not happening. In football, you have 53 players to acquire and develop rather than just 12, which you have to in the NBA. One way to view the tenure of general manager Joe Schoen and head coach Brian Daboll is to compare the team to their peers when the new regime was at the starting line. Here are the worst teams in the NFL at the end of the 2021 season. Well, at the end of the 2021 season was the Jaguars, Detroit Lions, the Houston Texans, the Giants, the Jets, the Panthers, and the Bears. Those were apparently the worst teams in football. Now, with the Jaguars, they won their opening day game. I remember that. And then they lost 15 straight games to secure the number 1 overall pick, which wound up being Trevor Lawrence. So they got their franchise quarterback. And of course, they made some good investments in the receiving with Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Calvin Ridley, and now Brian Thomas Jr. In Peterson's first year, they won a weak division and shocked the Chargers in the first round of playoffs. Then 2023 happened. Lawrence regressed. Jacksonville lost 5 straight games in the second half of the season, and they missed the playoffs. Is the 2022 team, is that the true indication of the Jaguars, the team that went to the playoffs, or the 2023 team that missed the playoffs? And then, of course, we had the Detroit Lions. Now, we all know about them. The Lions had an awful 2020 season, jettisoned their unpopular head coach, Matt Patricia, and GM Bob Quinn. They had their quarterback, but they traded for Jared Goff. But right when they got Goff, but they also got 2 first-round picks and a third as well. So they acquired some draft capital, which wound up being huge for the Lions. Detroit used the picks in several trades, ultimately winding up with defensive back and wide receiver Jameson Williams and defensive end Josh Paschal. After 3 years of the new regime, the Lions look like a powerhouse, even though the GM Brad Holmes flouts the rules of positional value by doing things like taking a running back and a linebacker in the first round. Yeah, that was I remember last season that their picks were just, I don't know, a bit odd. Dan Campbell seemed an odd choice as a head coach, but his players have responded to him. Jared Goff, discarded by Los Angeles, has played more like a number 1 draft pick that he was. Then you got the Houston Texans. Obviously, with them, with C.J. Stroud. I mean, looks like they got themselves a quarterback. Got the Jets. With their defense, with the Jets, with their defense, if they can keep Aaron Rodgers standing straight up, without him getting hurt, they got a good chance of certainly making the playoffs this year. Carolina Panthers, boy, I'll tell you, I don't know. They took Bryce Young, so sometimes it's like a crapshoot, right? They took Bryce Young over C.J. Stroud. Stroud certainly looks like possibly the real deal, Bryce Young maybe just needs another year of seasoning. Who knows? The Chicago Bears, they were another horrible team then. The Bears are another team that often held as a model of what to do because their GM, Ryan Poles, came in at the same time as Joe Schoen and was interviewed by the Giants. And because they are now perceived to be closer to contending, the situations of the two teams are not comparable, though. Poles took over a team whose quarterback, Justin Fields, was only entering year 2, and thus, unlike Schoen, there was no fifth-year option because to be made immediately and no contract extension to be negotiated after 1 year. The Bears hired a defensive head coach, Eberflus, and an offensive coordinator, Getsy, who didn't design an offense to suit Fields' strengths. The Bears finished 2022 with the worst record in the NFL and the number 1 pick, which they then traded to Carolina for DJ Moore, a first and 2 seconds. Poles' genius was choosing Carolina, the league's most dysfunctional organization. You take your player, you trade him, right, for a future pick or something like that to a horrible team. Right? You don't trade, you don't take a player that you got on your team and trade him to the Kansas City Chiefs for a future third. Why? Because it's going to be like the last pick in the 3rd round. If you trade him for a future third, you trade him to the Carolina Panthers or whoever the most dysfunctional team is in the NFL. Why? Because next season, when that future third comes around, it's going to be a top 5 3rd round pick. Poles' genius was choosing Carolina, the league's most dysfunctional organization, to deal with. Carolina finished with the worst record in the NFL in 2023, giving Poles his 2nd consecutive number 1 pick in the draft, and they took Caleb Williams. So what does this mean for the Giants? To many people, the 2024 Giants look to be worse off than all the other teams who were similarly bad in 2022, except Carolina. Shane was dealt a bad hand relative to those other GMs, though. He walked in a seemingly great draft situation, inherited the number 5 and 7 overall picks. However, 2022 was the year of no good quarterback prospects. The last time no quarterbacks were taken in the top 10 was 2013. He couldn't have moved on from Daniel Jones even if he wanted to. So it last seemed like we were pretty almost kind of stuck with Daniel Jones. Shane has not made any mega trades to acquire multiple 1st or 2nd round picks because the Giants roster he inherited has no players who could bring that kind of haul in on a trade. Getting day 2 picks for Kadarius Toney and Leonard Williams was about the best that could be expected. Now he did when he got rid of Leonard Williams, he did very, very well. Very well, let me tell you what. And, of course, there was the financial mess he inherited, which forced him to release players like Bradberry, right? And he might have kept in his first season and prevented him from doing much in the free agent spending. What we got here? Oops, hold on here. What we can ask of Shane, however, is to do the most with the resources he's had. First and foremost, that means hitting on a reasonable number of his draft picks. What a reasonable number is less than you may think. Here is the list of 5th-year options for the 2021 draft class, which apply only to the 1st round picks picked up versus the ones declined by the NFL teams this year. So the 5th round picks, 19 out of the 32 1st-round picks, 59% who either had their option picked up or who were signed a contract extension. So basically, 3 out of every 5 1st-round picks were either signed or picked up their 5th-round option, right, or into the 2021 class, or had a contract extension. So one of the big things is hitting on your picks, especially those 1st-round picks. It says the numbers are much better for the top 10, but not perfect. 80% of the picks in the top 10 are in the 2021 class were hits. Even looking at the 19 unsuccessful picks, we can see a number of good players who were considered worth keeping, but cannot be considered game changers. This may have been part of Shane's thought process in deciding whom to pick in round 1 this year. If the rumors about trying to trade up to number 3 are true, Shane must have thought that Drake May could be a game changer. Looking at the fates of teams like Cleveland and Carolina, who surrendered a package of picks similar to what Shane supposedly offered to move up, perhaps it was for the best that New England didn't bite. Then at number 6, given the choice between Malik Neighbors and J.J. McCarthy, it's not hard to imagine Shane seeing one game changer and one good but not potentially great player. Even though quarterback is the highest value position in football. Indeed, comps for Neighbors I have seen include Justin Jefferson, Odell Beckham Jr., Brandon Ayuk, and DJ Moore. The comps for McCarthy are all over the place. Several analysts liken him to Alex Smith, while others have mentioned Kirk Cousins and even Joe Burrow. Oh, those are pretty different quarterbacks. So, I mean, yeah. The one thing is, is hitting on your picks. Hitting on your picks. That's huge. One thing is, obviously, what you like to do, right, is, hit on your picks, which is a lot easier said than done, right? But developing your picks and keeping your picks, right? So like when Xavier McKinney, it's come time, he's been there for 4 years, you don't let him walk out the door, right? You got yourself a 24-year-old, I guess he's going to be maybe 25 this year, 25 maybe this season, but he's only 24 years old. He's got a lot of football in front of him. He played toward the end of the last season. He was playing really, really well, right? And you let him go. So not only hit on your picks, but develop them, but keep them. Don't let them go. So that's why. Let's give Shane like one more for me. Let's see what we do next season. As far as in the draft, and then we can look at the roster and see what kind of holes we have or whatever. But it's tough when you come into a crappy organization. Because I mean, think about it, right? How many times are you going to be get hired as a new GM, right, on a Super Bowl winning team, right? Yeah, we've won the last 13 Super Bowls. Yeah, come on, why are you? Come on, look at this team. Everybody's an all-pro on the team. You don't have to do anything. That doesn't happen. Why do head coaches? Why do new head coaches? Well, it's because the team sucks, right? Or maybe not so much the team. Maybe they need better coaching, but the reason, for the most part, the reason why they bring in a new head coach is because the year before, a couple of years before, whatever, the team record sucked. Most of the time when you're the number 1 overall pick, you're going to get drafted by the team that sucks because their record, is the worst. So, it's sometimes in it's like, what have you done for me lately, league? It's we're not patient. I'm not patient. I want to win a Super Bowl. I want to win the next 13 Super Bowl. But to try to build a team and maybe the right way, it takes years. The problem is, right, is that if you give the guys the key to the organization, say you go ahead and build a team. You got 3-4 years, whatever. So start building the team. If you give him the keys and he doesn't do good, you've just wasted 4 seasons, 5 seasons, whatever it is. You got to get rid of him, bring in a new GM, and he's got to start all over again, right? And it could take another 3-4 years or so. So you could go through 8, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, whatever, just bad football. So let's have some trust in Shane. But I mean, I said for him to do it the right way, it's just gonna take time. Going to take time. I mean, the roster was not very good, and Lord knows the salary cap situation was horrible. I mean, we couldn't even keep guys. We had, we were trying to trade Bradberry, right? Because we couldn't keep him. But then, like the Eagles, and I think every other team was out there. Yeah, no, we're not going to trade for him. We'll just sit there and wait because you're going to let him go. And when you let Bradberry go, and he's a free agent, we'll swoop in and pick him up. Yeah, they're not going to trade nothing for him. No, because you're going to let him go because you can't afford him. Right? Gettleman, the crap that Gettleman left us with was just horrible, absolutely horrible. I mean, I don't know what the hell Gettleman was going to do. I mean, if Gettleman was still here, I mean, what a horrible situation he was left under. So, but got to give Shane some time. And then finally, I seen this. Like, apparently, I didn't see it on TV or nothing like that or whatever. The Tom Brady roasted him. And Ron Burgundy, huh? I guess he must have been, I don't know. I don't know if he's a Giant fan, but he certainly brought up, because apparently Eli wasn't there. Said Burgundy, or Will Ferrell, right, didn't need a teleprompter aid this time around, shredding Brady by using one of his sorest spots. Retired New York Giants quarterback Eli Manning. Or Will Ferrell, Ron Burgundy said, underneath that dead robot of a quarterback, there's a scared little boy, Burgundy said. Anyone notice? You don't see Eli Manning here tonight, do you? No, that's because he's afraid. Tom Brady's afraid of Eli Manning. Eli Manning made Tom Brady his, I think he said B-I-T-C-H. He made him his B-I-T-C-H. But Burgundy didn't stop there. He then led the crowd in a chant for Brady. And he wrote, I guess the chant went, Eli Manning made Tom Brady his biatch. Burgundy shouted, urging those in attendance to chant along. 1, 2, 3. Eli Manning made Tom Brady his biatch. Before signing off, Burgundy had one closing thought for Brady. You won't be forgotten. You'll always be remembered as Eli Manning's biatch, he said. So apparently there was a bunch of guys there, a whole bunch of guys there. They all made fun of him. All made fun. Now, if you ever listen to Tom Brady, right? He's like, he said, I'd give up. I think it was for the 2000, the Super Bowl 42, the 2007. I think he said he'd give up 2 Super Bowl rings just to win that one, because undefeated season. That would have put him at 19-0. That would have been, of course, the only other team that was undefeated and untied was the 72 Dolphins. But they went 17-0. The Patriots at the time that they got to the Super Bowl were actually 18-0. The thing I never like about the 72 Dolphins, they were 14-0. And, basically whoever they line up there, whoever's on your schedule, you beat them. Doesn't matter what their record is. Doesn't matter what you beat them by, whatever. You beat them. So they put up 14 teams for the 72 Dolphins to play. They beat them all. They were 14-0. Yeah. The thing that I don't like is that after the season was over with the Dolphins, when they were 14-0, they only beat 2 teams who at the end of the season had winning records. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who were 8-6, and they beat the New York Giants, who are 8-6. Now, the Giants, the Dolphins beat the Giants in Week 13 of the 72 season, beat them 23-13 at Yankee Stadium. Giants had 6 turnovers. The Dolphins, I think, had 1. I mean, the Giants, yeah. Now, bad football teams turn the ball over and all that, and the Dolphins did not do that stuff. But, I mean, it wasn't like the Dolphins blew the Giants out or not like that. I mean, 6 turnovers. One of them was on a kickoff return. Rocky Thompson fumbled the kickoff return, and a few plays later, I think either Mercury Morris ran a touchdown in or they kicked a field goal for it. So, I mean, the points, the turnovers the Giants had either like gave the Dolphins points or took points off the board. So it wasn't that much of a blow. But then one thing, as I said, was the 72 Dolphins, I said they only beat 2 teams with a winning record at the end. Both, and the Giants were 8-6, and the Kansas City Chiefs were 8-6. They were not like blowing teams out. They won that Super Bowl 14-7. They beat the Browns. I think it was 20-14. They had a block a punt. They recovered the punt in the end zone for a touchdown. They beat the Steelers in the championship game 21-17, I think it was. That was a close game. So they really weren't blowing teams out. Things just seemed to kind of fall into place. But this 2007, the Patriots, I mean, they were just scoring some points. That was like a Madden football team there, man. Just the points they were just scoring, unbelievable. That was an unbelievable team. But I know Brady he'll take it to his grave. I'm sure he'll give up. If he could, he'd give up 2 Super Bowl rings just to get that one back, but not happening. And I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. That's what makes me so proud to be a Giant, especially so proud that Eli Manning was a New York Giant as well. So, all right, guys, it's been 1 hour and 5 minutes. Vinny G, man, good talking to you, man. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Great talking to you. Whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you. Or if anybody's going to spend any time watching the replays, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. As always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo! Oh, yeah. Good night, Vinny G, man. Good night, buddy.